Here I'm showing you the output for index.html, which is inside a folder that I named zCalendar, which is on my desktop with the username of Zipper, and in my system from users under my C drive. So there's the path to this particular page. If I look at my desktop, you see zCalendar folder. If you go inside, you see index.html. You see a folder called Box. Inside of Box, I have all these different months in their own web page. I have a CSS style sheet named z.css, and I have a JavaScript style sheet named z.js. Each one of these months have a script at the bottom of the page. I did try to copy and paste that script into this external z.js and run it, and the functionality did not work without being directly in the page, and I did not know how to alter it to work externally. So currently z.js is an empty file. When I do figure out how to alter that code to work outside of these individual pages, then I'll put it in here and we'll point to it. So currently, if I go out of Box to the zCalendar, index.html, if I right click and edit with Notepad, in the head of the page, I'm linking to the external style sheet, box/z.css, and I'm linking to that script src equals z.js for when the time comes that I do know how to change the script and I could take it out of each individual. Because if you go to may.html all the way to the bottom, after the field set, you've got the script, and it's got a variety of functions, for loops. There's another function creating a lot of variables, using add event listener, node flush, first child, remove child, first child, append child, create text node, node replace, node flush, node add, event name, handler event, add event listener, attach event, event name handler, target, get element by ID, get element by tag name, check inputs, inputs.length, more loops, node replaces, result.length, result.join, another for loop, input.length, event add, inputs with indexes, change, check inputs. So a variety of functions going on in that script that I don't know how to change to an external script and have it still work. So in the meantime, every single page is going to have that script at the end. But going back to the index, eventually I'll be able to do that. I just can't do it at this time. And there's the end of the head. Here's the body. And in the body, you've got a big old table. And if you take that table and look at the ending table tag, you see that that's the only thing that the landing page, which is called index.html, is. It's just a table. End body, end HTML. Well, what all's in the table? Let me go back to the front. And back to the top, I mean. You got a TR, which indicates table row. And for some reason, I don't have my ending table row tag, end table row. Because when you click a pair, it should turn purple and you should find the beginning and ending tags. So for whatever reason, I was missing my ending table row tag. So in the first table row, we have THs, which means table headers. So you've got January, February, March, April, May, and June. Then you have another table row that has one table data cell with an iframe inside of it, a second table data cell with another iframe, third, fourth. These iframes are pointing to nothing. The fifth iframe, however, is pointing to src equals box/may.html. So when we look at this, not that. When we look at this, you see the first 1, 2, 3, and 4. These table data cells have an iframe inside that are pointing to nothing. The fifth table data cell has an iframe that's pointing to a page called may.html. And all of the rest of these are pointing to pages. We have a June.html that it's pointing to, July, August, September, October, November, December. I just didn't create any pages for these months because I'm just starting this project in May, so I started as of this month. Oh, let me go down. This is the May page. See if you can see here, you have file, 3/C, users, zipper, desktop, zCalendar, box, may.html. So before I finish reading the rest of index, well, no, that doesn't even make sense. Let me not read this yet. Let me go back to the index page. Remember, this is the landing page. This is the index page. So let me finish with the code for that. That TD, I just showed you the page that it's pointing to. The next TD is pointing to the June that's inside a folder called box. Then after that, we have to do some more headers because this green section is a table row with 6 TH tags, which are table headers. Then we followed with 6 table data cells. Then we have to follow with 6 table headers again so that we get our next set of months. And then we're going to have another 6 table data cells. So here's the table row with July, August, September, October, November, and December headers. And the last table row has 1 for July, table data cell with an iframe pointing to the July. The next table data cell has an iframe pointing to August. Now we're pointing to September. Now we're pointing to October, November, and December. And then you have the end of the table row and the end of the table, the end of the body, the end of the HTML. It's the end of the total page. So that's everything for the landing page, which is index.html. Now let's go to each individual page. I'm not going to go over all of these because once you look at May, June all the way through December is just a copy and paste of the same code. So let me close that or minimize this. Here's the code for May on the left, and this is what May looks like on the right without being open in the landing page. This is just being opened by itself. HTML head. Again, I've linked to the external CSS and I linked to the JavaScript. Even though the JavaScript has nothing yet, the CSS does. End of head, here's the body. So the body of this page here on the right is pretty plain. You have a field set with an ID equals May. So pound May in my external CSS style sheet, if I wanted to give each page its own unique background color or its own unique font face or whatnot, font family, I could put that here if I wanted to. If I do, it's going to make the page look very cluttered because imagine May has a background color of green, June has a background color of red, July has a background color of purple. It would just look really, really busy. But if I wanted to change the style any other way, besides color, like I said, maybe different font or whatever, I have the ability to do so that way. But they're empty because I haven't actually done it. I'm just showing you how pound May in the CSS external style sheet, because we are pointing to it right here, if I wanted to change styles unique, I could by giving it this ID equals May. Back to this page itself. Here we have a link. This is the ending link tag and this is the beginning link tag, and what's in the middle of the link tag is the text that you see, the words show checked values, and you see that right here. And I'll read that from there to there. A ref equals JavaScript colon void parentheses 0 on click equals document.getElement by ID parentheses and single quotes form.style.display equals block. Return false. This and NBSP semicolon gives us a new blank space. So we have two blank spaces. It's kind of like hitting the bar just to give you two spaces. N for new, B for blank, and SP for space. So in between this link and the hide checked values link, you have two spaces here, and that's how you got that. Here's the second link from there to there. A ref equals JavaScript colon void 0 on click equals document.getElement by ID form.style.display equals none. Return false, and the words hide checked values, and then the end of the link. So if we click hide checked values, we have display equals none. If we click show checked values, you get style.display equals block. Here we got a style block. Here we have a style here we have a display equals block. Here we have a display equals none. So that makes it appear and disappear. Next we have a legend, and the text in the legend is May 2016, and that's what you see right here. Now here I've got a note to myself that starts from there to there, and it's all in green, and it says choose display block or display none initially here. Now when you first look at this, everything is hidden. They're all hidden for every month, but we're actually in May right now, so what I might want to do is just for the May page, right after the legend, form ID equals form style equals display none. I might want to change that just for May to display block. If I save that, save this, then when May shows in the calendar, it'll be open. If I open this one and refresh, May will be the only one that's open. Everything else will be closed, and you'll have to click it to look at it. So I can do that way if I want. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it go back to none, so they're all the same. Now we've got div ID equals selections, input type equals checkbox, value equals May rent, label rent. So from here to here, you've got the checkbox and the word rent, and that's this first section right here. Then you have a break tag so that you go down a line, and then from here to here you have the same thing but for car. Input type equals checkbox, value equals May car, label car. And you have another break tag to go down the next line. And then from here to the next break tag, input type equals checkbox, value equals May electric, label electric, break. Input type equals checkbox, value equals May cable, label cable, break. Input type equals checkbox, value equals May food, label food. Two breaks, so now we have two lines that we skip. Div, the words you selected, which you see right here. Then you have a span inside of the div with an ID of selections results, so that as you check or uncheck, the values show up. When there's nothing, you get 0 items selected. If you select something, it indicates the value of what you selected. There's the end of the div for that. Here's the end of the div for ID equals selections. The end of the form, the end of the field set. Now let's go to that pretty long script that actually is going to add our choices to local storage. So here's a opening script tag, and it goes all the way to the bottom of the page. So there's the end script tag, end body, end of HTML. So that's everything that makes this page. The script is a little bit long, and I'm just going to read it bit by bit. I'm going to highlight a little, read it, and then highlight the next and read it. Function var boxes equals document.query selector all. Input type equals checkbox. For var I equals 0, I less than boxes dot length increment I. Var box equals boxes I if box dot has attribute value. Setup box box. So you should probably pause this part of the video and just type that as you see it. I'm going to go to the next section now. And that goes from here to there. So I'm going to highlight everything until we get to this note. All right. Function setup box box. Var storage ID equals box.getAttribute value. Var old val equals localStorage.getItem storage ID. Console.log old val. Box.checked equals old val, and then you have the triple equals true, question mark, true, false. The next little section says box.addEventListener, change, function, localStorage.setItem, storage ID, this.checked. And you really have to be careful with your curly braces, your parentheses, and your semicolons because they're all over the place. You have to make sure that you copy it the way you see it. And of course you should pause this, type it all, and then resume to get the rest of it. Alright, so next we have checkbox selections. Function, let's see how much. I'm just going to go from that curly brace all the way to, it takes us all the way to the end, so I'm just going to do a little section at a time. I'm going to go from here to here. Function D, function node flush E. While E.firstChild, E.removeChild, E.firstChild. Then we've got function node add. Function node add, E, node. E.appendChild, type of node, equals object, question mark, node, D.createTextNode, node. Again, you have to be perfect with the syntax. You have to use the equals the way you see them, the either single quotes or double quotes as you see them, the difference between the semicolons and colons, question mark, spaces, do everything just the way you see them. The next function right here says function node replace, E, node. Node flush E, node add, E, node. Here's the next section. Function event add, E, event, E, event name, handler. If E.addEventListener, E.addEventListener, event name, handler, false. Else, E.attachEvent, on plus event name, handler. Pause it, copy it as you see it, and then resume. We're going to do this little section now. Var target equals D.getElementById selections, output equals D.getElementById selections results, inputs equals target document.getElements by tag name input. Then we've got function check inputs that goes from there to there. So I'll highlight all of that and go over it a bit at a time. Function check inputs. var result equals, and that looks like an empty array. For var I equals 0, I less than inputs.length increment I. If inputs with the index of I dot checked result dot push inputs index of I dot value. After that, we've got node replace output comma result dot length question mark result dot join. Then here you're going to join a comma with a space after it, and then you've got a colon and 0 items selected. The next statement says document.getElementById by ID selections results dot inner HTML equals document.getElementById by ID selections results dot text content. Pause it if you need to copy, and then resume. All right, let's go into the next section now. And it's got the last little for loop here all the way to the very end. For var I equals 0, I less than inputs.length increment I. Event add inputs index I comma change comma check inputs. That's one statement. Then you've got event add inputs with an index of I comma click comma check inputs. That's the end of that statement. Then we have the final calling of check inputs. And then very last thing that we've got after all of these curly braces and parentheses, document in parentheses, and the final semicolon. The end of the script, the end of the body, the end of the HTML. So that long script allows us to check these things, to show the value of what's checked, and to save this in local storage. We can hide this and we can show it by these links. That uses JavaScript, and JavaScript also enables us to save this throughout different page loads and closes. Alright, so then if I close the may.html and I look at the index again, one thing I noticed when I checked this, when I open May through index, and this only does this in Firefox, when I do this in Google Chrome or Opera, it doesn't have this same feature. When I show checked values for May and I check them all, and then I close out of it, I come back and I launch that index.html. I launch my landing page in Firefox. Hello, it'll open. Show checked values. You see that it in fact saved all my values, which is good, but look what happens if I go into Box and I open May, open with Firefox. It doesn't transfer my changes, because now instead of me opening this from my index.html landing page, I'm opening it directly from May. So if it show checked values, you would expect that the storage savings would be shown here. But for some reason, Firefox will only do this based on where you're opening it. So for instance, right now there's nothing. So let me just pick food in May and go out of this and then right click this and open with Firefox again. It will save it because I made the changes from the may.html page. Show checked values. The only thing is checked is food. But when I go back to my index and run it in Firefox, it's not going to show the last thing that I did with that page, which was only have food selected. It's going to show all of them selected because that's what I did from the index page. Show check values. See, they're still all selected. So it didn't save my changes from the index HTML to the may.html. However, if I do this exact same experiment in Chrome, it will save. If I alter it from index.html or if I alter it from may.html, I'll show you that they're saving their changes across pages. And Opera also saves the changes between index.html and may.html. It just takes a while to show you this stuff because it's taking a long time to open. Processing request. Do it. Alright, so let's show checked values. And I'm going to select the three in the middle, the car, electric, and cable. I'm going to close out of here. I'm going to go in Box. I'm going to right click May and hit Open with Google Chrome. And it should show us those three checkboxes as selected. It should. Show checked values, and it does. Car, electric, and cable. Now let me make changes inside May. Let me take off car and take off cable. Now only electric is selected. So let me go out of here. Let me go back to index and run in Chrome, and it should show the May page is only having. Hello. Let's go to May, show checked values, and see, it saved my changes from page to page as long as I did it within the same browser. So Google Chrome does save. Opera does save. I don't need to go through it all again. I've already examined that. But I proved to you how Firefox is different. For some reason it doesn't save between the pages. If I'm going to open it through index all the time, then my changes are fine as long as I'm always opening it this way. But if I make any changes just through May itself, it's not going to save. Let's go over the CSS now, because I've went over the index page from top to bottom. I've went over the May page top to bottom. Let's go over the CSS. So let me run in Firefox the index. So again, you see the colors and the sizes and whatnot. I'm going to minimize this because it doesn't really matter that it's all squished up, just for the example of showing the CSS. So for body, I always do margin 0 pixels, sometimes 0 pixels only, sometimes 0 pixels auto, and padding 0 pixels. The reason being that between the different browsers, Firefox, Opera, and Chrome, they may have their own settings for margins and padding, and if you don't default to 0 pixels and 0 pixels for margin and padding, you're going to get a difference in your output. So you override the browser's margin and padding for the body, and you'll get a more consistent result as you open it in different browsers. Table. Again, this whole thing is the table. Border of thick silver solid, which you can't really see, but it's actually like a light gray border all the way around. And width 100% and height 100%. So no matter how I stretch my window or contract my window, it's going to fit in there. Then for my TH, which is my table header tag, which I'm showing in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, all the way to December with a light green background. The border is a thick green solid. The background color is a lime. It has a height of 5% and a font size of 1.5 EM. Then for the TD tag, which is the table data cell, border thick blue solid, background color pink, padding 0 pixels, and margin 0 pixels. And inside the table data cell, we have iframes. Width of 98%, height of 98%, padding of 0 pixels, and margin of 0 pixels. And then to remind you, if I wanted to individually style the iframes, not the iframes, but the individual pages, the field sets. I have a pound May and a pound June if I wanted to change each field set to its own style. So I've given you everything for the CSS. I've given you everything for the landing page, which is index.html, and I've showed you the may.html web page, which is just copied and pasted over and over again to all these other pages: June, July, August, all the way to December. And again, if I figure out how to alter the JavaScript inside may.html so that it can be externally and then just linked with a link in the head, then I'll do that. At this point, I don't have that yet. So basically, as I go along, I can give myself this build to-do list, and the browser that I save it in will save my values for next time I open the page.